Hello everyone, it's Chris Brack here. It's finished Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1. I'm here with Ashley, I'm here with Kev. Kev, 2 Premier League games running, Liverpool have played crap, got themselves to 1-1 and gifted the winner in the last kick of the game. That's pretty much how it is at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been pretty shit. This was better than Palace, but not by much. I think it's pretty much the lineup that everyone was asking for, reset back into midfield. Pretty much a settled 11, a settled forward line. And Chelsea completely dominated us after the first 5 minutes. Started well, and then once Chelsea got into the game, we couldn't get a kick for the first 45 minutes. And it was just like rinse and repeat. Played around the back, too afraid to pass it through midfield. When we did, we created chances. The chances that we did create, we didn't take. And then done with a worldie, and you think it can happen, okay. And the second half, you're hoping for something, and you get back into it, and you manage to find a way to fucking throw it away. It's shite. It's sickening. And but it is what it is. I can't. It's like it's still really raw. It's like 10 minutes after kickoff, and it's still really fucking raw. But trying to process it in my head still, you know.
Yeah. Ash, I'll say it, I'll be as blunt as I can because I'm fed up. They need to get fucking serious about football quickly, because if you're going to retain this title, you need to wake the fuck up, because the level of lack of basics is embarrassing. We're not passing it well. We're not doing the basics of defending. Robson, he's an experienced defender. If his name was Trent Alexander-Arnold, there'd be 15 shows about how shit that is defended at the back post.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a carbon copy of the Frimpong brain fart at Palace. It's almost the exact same goal. You're talking last kick of the game, keep your mind involved. Don't give them cheap opportunities to shoot. And it's almost the exact same finish. That's not on Marmadashvili. It wasn't on Allison in the other game. It's down to our defenders. And this honestly feels more like a system thing than a player thing. The players were not good. They were not good. But throughout that game, as it progressed, every single change that was made brought me more and more into a state of frustration with Slot and just questioning what he was doing. We talked about the lineup. We said we're happy with the lineup in terms of seeing kind of some old faces, adding some solidity. And instead of sticking with that plan, instead of sticking with we're just going to keep players where they know what they're supposed to do, he just galaxy brained it. He just absolutely galaxy brained it and started moving players around and putting them out of position again. And you could see at the end of the game, one of our starting defenders was still playing. The rest were all midfielders or players that, are out of favor or out of form. Honestly, like there's so many things that we need to kind of talk through here, because it's not just down to the players not performing. This is a much larger issue. And I can't remember us looking so fucking poor in attack. Like, we have $200 million or pounds worth of world-class attacking talent, and we can't even get the ball to them. They can't even get a shot on target. This is a huge problem, and we have to sit with this for 2 weeks now. And Slot has to sit with this, and all of his coaching staff have to sit with this, and they need to figure their shit out, because they've made a shift. They've changed how they've been approaching games tactically in the last 2 weeks or so, and it is destroying everything that is good about this team. It is making all of our strengths turn into weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, David T, our resident Newcastle fan, says, evening Kopites, as a neutral, great game. It's your team, so I'm not going to say much, except square pegs and round holes never works. I think we were saying that. It's also becoming. I think it's also becoming a bit of an issue with who he does and doesn't trust. Because let's be honest, Canate went off, which, according to Lewis Steele, looks like an injury. Doesn't want to try Gomez. Bradley was piss poor, but doesn't want to put Frimpong on. He wants to. Now listen, Topslide is fine at right back, but do you know what I mean? He doesn't want to put a like for like. And we ended up with a back four of your backup left back, your main centre back, centre mid, and a centre mid at right back. It's not ideal, that is it? Okay.
Well, Adio makes a point here in the super chat. Cheers, Adio. Thank you. Salah was at fault, never tracked his man injury. We'll come back to more Salah later on, Adio. All right. I didn't mind the Gravenberch one because he wanted to get Verts in, and that's probably the safest way to do it. Bradley had to come off. He was on a booking. Garnacho had already dived to try to get him sent off just on half time. So he had to come off. The only way you were going to get Verts in and keep the Bosnia in the pitch was to make that change at right back if you're going to make it. And I don't mind it because the difference between Gravenberch and Konate on the ball was Gravenberch was bringing the ball out from the back and committing players when he was kept breaking the lines, and it looked like he was able to get passes through midfield, and I didn't mind that side of what was happening. One change that he made right at the end, and I don't remember it happening too often, was when there was a game to be won. That one surprised me. I thought if he's going to make that change in the last 5 minutes with it plus injury time, I thought that was the time he was going to bring on Frimpong and maybe move Szoboszlai back into midfield and do it that way. I didn't see you're bringing on Endo and you're literally saying to everyone, we're going to settle for the point and we're going to try and see this one out. Take the point and get out of jail because, on balance, if it finished a draw, I don't think there'd have been too many complaints because Mamardashvili made some good saves, but they're saves he should be making. And we didn't work Sanchez anywhere near enough, but created enough chances in the game to come away with at least a point. But to get caught with a sucker punch like that at the end, basically from poor tracking. And Adio's right, Salah not tracking is one. There's others. Robertson getting beat by his man at the back post. It was still a really well worked goal. It was still a really good goal. But it was the most frustrating kind of goal. And look, we've been on the plus side of that goal a few times this season already. We've been on the receiving end of that goal twice now in the space of 7 days.
It's the same goal. That's the
and it's a sucker punch, but it's one of those ones that when you shift around players in the back four and you make changes at the back, you're liable to concede, especially when you've got players playing out of position. It's a gamble you take. And I don't mind the fact that he's gambling, but I just found it odd bringing Endo on with 5 minutes to go. I understand the reason why he did it. He wanted to save the point, but I just thought it was a bit of a strange one.
Yeah, Ash, I mean, maybe is the Endo sub a reaction to what happened at Palace, which was like, I had too many attacking players on the pitch last time he felt attack-minded players on the pitch. He thought bring a defensive-minded player on just to shore things up. I mean, it was a midfield for a midfielder, so it wasn't like he took a Gakpo off or a Salah off or a attacking player off. But because Slot normally goes for the win, goes for the more positive one and risks losing if that's the case. But I don't know, maybe he sort of second-guessed himself a little bit. But I mean, all game, Liverpool's passing, especially first off, was atrocious.
Yeah, I actually think both teams ended up with pretty much equal pass accuracy. They were both right around 83%. Yeah. So we weren't outpassed by them. I mean, we made our own mistakes there 100%, but they weren't great in their passing either. So I don't think that's what won or lost us the game. As for that substitution with Endo, there was someone that I think it was Matt that was commenting in our WhatsApp. He's like, how can we have so many attack-minded players with no attack? And I was thinking about that a lot as the game was progressing. And I was like, these attacking players have no confidence in what's behind them. They have no confidence. So they're constantly looking over their shoulder. They are constantly trying to put out fires. They genuinely feel like everything behind them is just quicksand. And it's that old kind of mantra, defense wins championships. It's true. Like, you have to have a solid foundation to build off of. And every single change that Slot made throughout this game just made us more and more porous. And adding Endo in does not fix or fill those holes. Endo does not solve the fact that you have two midfielders, both are actually attacking-minded midfielders, even Gravenberch, playing in your back four. That doesn't fix that. If you wanted to bring Endo back and put him in defense, maybe I could understand that. But you know, the way that it was just configured, it made no sense to me. Like every single hole was made bigger by Slot's next decision. And so the fact that the attackers aren't attacking doesn't surprise me because there's literally just quicksand behind them. So they have nothing to stand up on.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's hard to try and, you know, be upbeat or positive. You know,
no.
Where are we in the league? You know, we are currently second. We're a point off top. Probably should be further ahead than we are, but we aren't. We're a point up from the same fixtures last season. It doesn't feel like that. It generally doesn't. But I think that's because of the manner of. I know people are saying Liverpool haven't played well all season, but I think the manner of the defeats of the last three, the level of performance has been, I would say, a significant drop off to the previous 5-6. The opening 5-6 games weren't to this level. The other 5-6 games, there were moments, you know, 10-minute spells, 15-minute spells. You go, yeah, you can see where it's going. Yeah, I can see flashes. Yeah, and you always felt Liverpool were a threat. Apart from the Gakpo goal, I didn't feel Liverpool were much of a threat today. I know we can talk about, but second half, I wasn't watching that.
Second half, no.
Go to get the win. I just didn't feel like that. Whereas even Palace, to a certain extent, I thought, oh, John, we might go in and nick this because that's kind of how Liverpool do it. But even when we got it to 1-1, I was kind of going like, well, we might get a draw. I didn't feel like we were going to kick on and win it. Yeah, which is unusual for Liverpool because you'd always feel like there's a chance of going for it.
The chances in the first half were good chances. The one to Szoboszlai where he actually has more time than he thinks, and he just tries to get the shot on target. Pretty, you know, it was blocked out pretty well. The header, the Isak header, I think he should do better with that. It was a world class cross to find him. He has to get over that and get that down. The other one, Kerkez gets, instead of taking the shot, tries to cross it across the box for Mo, but that was never on. You know, the only thing that he could do there was shoot, and you know, at best you might get a deflection out. It might go for a corner. You might make something happen, but it was the worst of all options. But in fairness, that was the sum size of it really in the first half. Saying that, Chelsea, aside from their goal, Mamadas really didn't have anything really to do. The game was in front of us for the first half. They were passing it really well. They were working the spaces really well. But we defended them in the first half really well. We couldn't get out. That was the biggest problem. In the second half, for probably half an hour, for the first half an hour of the second half, up until when we scored, we were the better side. And then when we scored, they just took the shackles off and they went for it. And the crowd drove them on, and they finished by far the stronger side. And they created their own look by the end of it. You know, so I wouldn't. You can't. I don't think anyone is going to complain about the result. Pissed off at the performance. Pissed off at the quality of finishing. Some of the decision making in the final third was miles off where it needs to be. But for me, the biggest problem I had in the whole game was a lack of bravery, getting the ball out from the back, through the thirds, through the middle of the park, allowing players to take the ball on the half turn and move with it. When we did that, we were able to get at Chelsea, but more often than not, we were playing it around the back and we were getting caught on our own and creating our own problems, and that was the hardest part of that whole game for me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Ash, it felt very. I think I put it in our WhatsApp group. Said this feels very last 5 years of Wenger. The way we were playing, it was just passive.
It was very boring as hell. It was so
very unslot, how Liverpool have been playing the last 18 months of the slot, before him as well, and the Klopp. Just, you know, we always I always said, I thought Slot would be more like, look, we'll go for the win, we'll risk the loss. If it happens, it happens. And you kind of went, okay, you take that on the chin. But, you know, if you go for that methodology, most times you win games and you just accept the odd hiccup that comes your way. But this was just like passive and like you said, boring. But I think if you're that passive, it's gonna bite you in the arse. Because I don't think you can afford to be passive in this league.
Yeah, I think in the year past, when we kind of started to get used to Slot, I think a lot of us were like, oh, this is a little bit slower than Klopp. And that took a little while to get used to. But the team was able to look like they were really creating a lot of control when we were more passive. when we had the ball, it was very deliberate. It wasn't always passing back to Allison. It was, keeping the ball in that midfield, keeping it ticking over, having that tempo. None of that is there. This is passing in and around our back four and constantly back to Marmarashvili today. This is not progressing through the thirds. This is not getting the offensive players involved. This is it's timid. It's timid football. And, you can see that the last couple of games have gotten into their heads. And as champions, 2 games should not get into your heads. I understand there are other things going on off of the pitch. There are other psychological issues and traumas that they are dealing with. And that I'm putting that to one side because I don't have the context to speak on that with authority because I'm not involved in what's going on behind the scenes. But what's happening on the pitch looks timid and it looks fragile. And instead of that confident control that we saw from Slot last year, where at any time the team could go up in gear and really just do that bang, bang. There were so many times where we would just go up a gear, score 2 goals, and then you'd go back into your shell. And it feels like the last couple of games, we haven't decided to play football until the last 15 minutes. Actually, that's true for the entire season, really. We've been this passive force. And then for the last 15 minutes, players decide, okay, now we're going to go. The problem with that is that small margins go both ways. And yes, you can end up with a last-minute winner, but you can also absolutely end up with a last-minute loser. And we've seen that time and time again now. And I can't understand why there aren't more kind of periods of uptick earlier in the game. Usually we would see it right before halftime or right after halftime. We're not seeing it at all. And it's like the players just aren't even showing up until the last 10 minutes.
I mean, Kev, probably the most worrying reaction was when talk about the goal, Caicedo. So
yeah,
he wins a 50-50 with McAllister. I've seen a lot, people done stills going, the 2 centre-backs aren't closing down. But when you see the still of the picture, he hits the tackle, he takes 1 step, he takes a half step. Yeah. And at that point, Konate's got 1 forward, who's running that way, and Van Dijk's got the other one. Now, if Van Dijk charges at him, which he could do, which stops the shot, I think he slips in them with Gusto, who's 1-on-1. And then what we're all saying, what the fuck are you doing charging there? I think players generally will say, take the chance from that distance, and if he pings it top corner, them's the break sometimes, because it doesn't often happen. And look, to fair to Caicedo, it's a hell of a hit.
Yeah.
Mamardashvili actually isn't actually that far away from it, which
he gets a touch on it.
Which is impressive, but I put that down as that's a great goal, and that's how it's breaking for us at the moment. Is we started okay, but
I think for me the problem is further back than that. Is McAllister commits himself, doesn't win it, but Gravenberch is nowhere to be seen. Gravenberch should be inside, but Enzo Fernandez drags him out. Enzo drags out Gravenberch out of the space, and he leaves the space vacated. Caicedo wins the 50-50, and you either foul him then, or you hope, because as you said, and you're right, the centre backs can't commit because they've got a forward each side of them looking to make the run, and from there, center the goal. You're saying, go ahead, hit it. If you hit it and you top in it, fair enough. And it was a hell of a hit. Mamardashvili, I thought, had a really good game overall. So he was absolutely fine. Couldn't get anywhere near it. Well, he got close. He got a fingertips on it, but it's just one of them, isn't it? It's a really good hit, but I think the problem for that goal is caused, from a Chelsea point of view, by a really smart, clever run by Enzo Fernandez vacating the space, dragging Gravenberch out of the space, and Caicedo being aware of it and going inside of it. So that's that. And it's 1-0, and at the time, they hadn't created a damn thing. Nor had we hadn't either. It was just one of those typical Liverpool Chelsea games and they all tend to be like this. They all tend to be.
They don't all tend to have this shit of a back four though. For Chelsea, let's not pretend this is not like prime Chelsea that we've played in the past. It's not even top 4 Chelsea that we've played in the past.
That Chelsea squad will be in the top 4 this season.
I'm sure it will, but now with that squad, they finished with 4 left backs or right backs in their back four.
And they come out with the best way possible to protect them is to attack. It was the best way. It was the only way.
I just don't want to give them they played well, but we made them look that good. Like we should have been testing.
I'm not saying that we were any good at all. We were shit. But at the end of the day, they handled their frailties at the back the best way possible. Is get their wingers on the ball and keep the ball away from their back four as much as possible. And to be fair, the midfield three that they had in there for the last 20 minutes is as good as anything in Europe. In Lavia, Enzo Fernandez, and Moses Caicedo. That's a fair bit of protection. So they protected their back four way better than we protected ours. Because at the end of the day, they gambled and they took their luck. But neither side towards the end, really, apart from 2 pot shots from outside the box, they didn't really do anything much other than that. And bar the goal, neither side were really looking like they were creating anything. They were going for it, but in the main, I thought we contained them really well. It's just the chances that they got towards the end, you'd expect Mamardashvili to make those saves. The other side of it is when we were attacking, almost wish Ekitike would stay up front instead of dropping in. And I know it's his natural game, but if he'd have stayed up front and maybe been a target man to play out, because he was winning some of the aerial battles that he was in, you could have got players up and around him that way. But it just never panned out for us. I mean, when you're not playing well, you're not playing well. And we're just not at the minute. And to be fair, you can go right the way back to the start of the season, I think. We've put together a couple of 45 minutes performances. Yeah, we're second in the table. The points say, the points, we are where we are. But performance-wise, we're nowhere near where we were this time last year because we're nowhere near as confident as where we were this time last year. You still got 5-6 players bedding into a squad on top of everything else, and it's going to be patchy.
Yeah. Why are we making it more patchy though? That's my question. Like, it's going to be patchy by nature, by bringing all these new players in. Why is he making it more patchy by playing players out of position? Like, I know that Slot likes rotating his players. He did that at Feyenoord. He loves players that can play many positions, but we're already feeling really unstable. Why are we taking our best defensive midfielder and putting him back if we have Gomez on the bench? Why are we putting Szoboszlai, who is our best attacking midfielder at the moment, on form, and putting him at right back when we have Frimpong on the bench? Why are we basically hamstringing ourselves? Slot signed a lot of these players. He signed Frimpong. That was his choice to bring him in. It was his choice to wait until the very last day to go for Guehi. They determined that was not a make or break signing for them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have haggled over £5 million. They would have gotten that done sooner. I get that Parrish pulled the rug from under them, but they decided that was the least important of all the signings. And at the moment, it looks like our entire plan hinged on Guehi. And I understand you can't account for Leone getting injured, but you can account for the fact that we have had ACL injuries in almost all of our defenders. We've had it with Matip, we've had it with Gomez, we've had it with Virgil, we've had Ibu go down with injuries in the past. We know that this team is frail in the defensive department. And, Leone, as big of a talent as he might have been, was still never a guaranteed starter. So you're signing these players. I don't know if that was Slot or if that was Richard Hughes, and we all agreed that this was a really great window. But looking back on it, I'm not 100% sure that we really addressed what needed to be addressed. You can't win with just lots of attackers. Like, they're really nice, shiny toys, but, we see the Galactico problem happening elsewhere with other teams. We have so many players up front that we can't play them all at the same time. And we're taking the players from up front, we're putting them in defense where they're not good enough to play there. So for me, it's already unstable and we're destabilizing it further.
Yeah, I think the frustration I have today is 7 of that starting 11 played regularly last year. 7 of that 11 was the title side last year, and the new players were the 2 full-backs, the goalie, and the striker. So you kind of put the I think the fluidity and the strength of the team through the middle, and they just looked absolutely they just didn't look like they had the fluidity, and that's a midfield that's played together now 2 years, which should be doing better. I get your frustration on the centre back thing. You'd have liked it to have been done sooner. My general feeling is I don't feel like the centre back thing is the big problem. I think it's what's happening in front of the centre backs that's the issue. I just think we're exposing the back too much. And I don't know why that's the case when most time Gravenberch is playing and one of McAllister or Jones is playing, who tend to play in the 2 behind, and they've played that role massively enough. So I find it interesting. I mean, the fact he doesn't trust Frimpong, I don't know whether Frimpong's burnt his head out with how he played against Palace, or for all we know, he's managing minutes of players. We don't know what the situation is. So half time, we move Szoboszlai to right back because we can't play Frimpong there, and we take off Bradley. I kind of feel like Bradley's indiscipline is costing him a little bit, because I think every start he's had, he's got a booking, and I think he's got a booking, and the booking he got today, it was schoolboy stuff. It's really basic stuff he's not doing. This is like, and the one big plus of Bradley was we always felt he was better defensively than Trent. So you kind of thought, well, you won't get what Trent gives you going forward, because you won't from Bradley. But defensively he's good, and he can still whip in a decent cross. But he's kind of like stopped doing that.
The thing is, with the way he was done in the 1-2, that can happen to anyone. His reaction was because there was nobody on the cover, so he brought him down. It's a booking all day long. The difference is, last season, Trent does that, and he trusts Trent to manage it. And for whatever reason, he decided to make the change at halftime. And yeah, I understand it. I understand the change, because we needed someone like Wirtz to be able to get into the middle of the park, put his foot on the ball, and try to make something happen. And literally within seconds of the second half kicking off, he almost pulls off a worldie of an assist. So you can understand the logic behind what he was doing, because he still wanted to keep Szoboszlai on the pitch. Because if it came to a situation where we got ahead and he wanted to change it again, he could still move Szoboszlai into where McAllister was playing and stiffen it up by keeping him on the pitch there, and bring on Joe Gomez at right back later on in the second half. That option was always there. That's probably why he wanted to keep him on the pitch at 45 minutes. We'll see what happens with Ibu, if he's pulled from the France squad or not. Because if it's an injury, then you're still chasing the game. And I don't mind the way Gravenberch played at centre back. Bringing the ball out from the back is exactly what we needed. Konate's brain was fried from his passing. He
passed it out of play. There's no one near him, and it's a simple pass, and he just kicks it out of play.
Yeah, there was that one, but during the second half, he was almost standing on the ball, waiting for movement ahead of him, and then when nothing was happening, he was just knocking it back and trying to maneuver the ball that way. At least with Gravenberch being able to carry the ball out from the back, it made Chelsea think and made Chelsea do something different, which it took them a while to adjust to. It wasn't until they made their own changes that they were able to adjust to it. But goes back to the starting lineup. Is it a case that you have to find a way to play Florian Wirtz in these type of games, where they're going to be blood and thunder? It's going to be fast paced. Do you need someone like him in the middle of the park who can get his foot on the ball and carry you up the pitch? Because he's not going to learn a lot about the Premier League sat on the bench. You spent the money on the guy to play him in these type of games. It's a decision that Arne Slot's paid to make, and you're living by these decisions. And if you get the results, it's all roses. But when the results don't go for you, then you're going to be questioned on it. And sometimes it's nice having the options to be able to make the changes. Other times, it's a hindrance at times, and it can be, because he's different to any other kind of player that we've got in that position. We don't have a standout natural number 10 in the squad, and he is exactly that. So, is it a case? Should he have started? Possibly, But he went with a tried and trusted midfield that know each other inside out, and we couldn't press anything. We couldn't get near Chelsea. It's the one thing when you go back if you go back and watch the highlights of the Chelsea games last year, their out ball is always to the right, to their left, to Cucurella. And last year, Robert Sanchez couldn't make it for love nor money. He kept Kiki out of play. Remember, because he was being pressed so hard by the forwards. This time he was able to play it pretty well, and Cucurella was able to get on the ball quite a bit. And by doing that, it was dragging Gravenberch out to help Bradley because Salah was taken out of the game. And that allowed the amount of 2v1s against Bradley right the way through the first half. And Garnacho had him on toast at times. And credit where it's due, Garnacho played really well. So, sometimes you just got to take your medicine.
Kev, did you notice? We're talking about the midfield. We're talking about not playing Verts. Did you notice how Szoboszlai was playing in that first half? Because it felt to me like instead of actually reverting back to the midfield that made us really solid last year, it felt to me like Szoboszlai suddenly was playing the Verts role, where he was off on the left. He was dropping into a false nine. He was not on the right side providing cover, which was kind of the whole point of bringing him back in.
Yeah.
So for me, the reason I was calling for taking Verts out and bringing Szoboszlai back in was not because I think Szoboszlai is better at what Verts is doing, but because I think that we needed Szoboszlai of last season. We need him to protect Bradley. We need him to link with Mo. We don't need him on the left side of the field playing the Verts role. And it felt to me like instead of shifting tactics, it was just shifting a player in there. And for me, that tells me it's less about the player itself and more about the tactics not working.
Yep. It was almost a case today. It was screaming out to be a bog standard, flat 4-3-3. Three players across the middle of the park, covering the spaces that need to be covered and just being defensively sound and look to play on the break. And at times it was a rigid 4-2-3-1, but when they were having their midfield three, it was being supplemented by Reece James coming into it as well. So it was bad enough that we were being outnumbered 3v2 in there. But when you're outnumbered 4v2 in there, they always had options. And even when they were pressing, they pressed in such a way that the out ball was a difficult risk unless you wanted to go long. And, with Isak, you can go long, but the accuracy has to be there. And the only one who's got that in his locker is Virgil. And as soon as Virgil shaped to get the ball in his right foot, he was pressed. And they never gave him a chance to get his head up to be able to play those passes in the first place. When they did a couple of times, it came out to Mo, but Mo isn't going to win much in the air, especially when it's Badiashile dragging him to the ground or Cucurella getting out ahead of him. So and I understand what he's trying to do, but you can't do that with the personnel that we have. You have to be different. And I think he's going to have to use this international break to come up with a different way to construct attacks, or be more inventive in how we construct attacks and how we start to look after the ball. Because at the minute, we're just not looking after the ball at all. I mean, 83% possession today. Granted, it was Chelsea.
No, it was 83% passing accuracy.
I think
we had 48% possession.
It
was below 50%.
Yeah, it was below 50%. And you expect that sometimes away from home.
It's the lowest we've had all season.
It was 43% in the second half and 51% in the first half. But a lot of the possession that we did have tended to be around our own backline. We didn't really sustain attacks in their final third for long enough. And that comes down to looking after the ball and doing the simple things. And we just didn't do it. There was a lot of Hollywood passes and rushing it and trying to force things through gaps that weren't there instead of being more patient. And last season, you could level that at us all day long. We were so patient that we kept recycling it, waiting for the chance. But today, there was no patience at all, especially when we were in the ascendancy at the start of the second half. You're screaming out for him to be a bit more patient and work the ball from side to side and move Chelsea around the pitch a bit more, especially with an inexperienced back line. But we didn't. We made it fairly routine for them.
We moved them side to side, but we didn't make any sort of progressive passes. And we're not asking our fullbacks to carry the ball. So I just don't know how we're getting the ball forward. We're passing from side to side and back, but the fullbacks are not. I thought Kirkes was a ball-carrying fullback. I thought that was what he did at Bournemouth. Like, you know, he loves an underlapping run and things like that, but he can also run with the ball. He's fast. We haven't seen that. Frimpong can do the same thing on the other side. We haven't seen that there either. And it's like you lose Trent, who was part of that creativity, but you replace it with nothing. So we're not getting the ball forward at all. And you're right, Virgil's the only one that has that passing accuracy. So it's like, if that's not happening, what are we doing after that? Where's that progression coming from? How are we getting it forward? Because I can't see it right now.
Yeah, it's frustrating to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, the goal, it's a nice goal. Mo gets it, plays it to Szoboszlai, digs it right from the byline, comes to Isak with a touch, debates whether he means it or not, and Gakpo reacts, and you went, okay, 1-1. But I'll be honest, there was a little bit of reaction after it, as in with some half chances. You know, I think Mo cuts inside a bit later, puts one over the bar. Jones has put in, should do better with his chance. But Chelsea kept having players drop like flies, and they ended up with 4 fullbacks as your back four. And to be fair to Chelsea, and they brought Lavia on, they were kept fairly comfortable. And to be honest, for the last 10 minutes of that game, Chelsea looked the more dangerous and ultimately got the winner. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, the international break's probably quite a good time. I actually think a break away from everything will probably do everyone a bit of good. Gives Slot a time to reassess things. He's got to find a way of getting this team to gel a bit quicker, and this could mean a couple of big names have to sit at the bench, whether that's Wirtz, whether that's Isak, whether that's McAllister, who I quite frankly don't think's fit, and I felt today was like playing with 10. Whether it is you pick a back four, say it's Frimpong, Karate, Van Dijk and Kirkus, just say that's your back four, then you give that back four 8 games and really get them to know each other and really get them to run it, because chopping and changing it too much is not helping us. And maybe you just chop and change in the cup games. That's where you take the risk. I think that was a bit of a big strength last year, was we had quite a consistent side. Now, admittedly, I know what you were saying, Ashley, you know, we fell off near the end because we didn't rotate enough, but I just feel like we need a 5, 6, 7 game run.
A solid back four. You have to have a consistent back four. Whatever about anything else, you can rotate up front, you can rotate to an extent in the middle of the park, because the changes that you make in the middle of the park are players who've been there for a long time. It's your back four, you have to settle that down. And whatever you decide to stick with and whatever way you tell them to play, stick with that. Stick with it until it works or you're forced to change it. But it's, I mean, you talk about Alexis McAllister, and look, Alexis McAllister is top tier player. We know this. But I've 77% pass accuracy for someone in his position. You're begging for trouble. Begging for it. And that's not like him. It really isn't. He created one chance. He had one shot. It's not like him. He's just not in he's not in good form at the minute. So it's catch-22. Do you play him into form? Or do you just say, look, bide your time, work on it in training, get yourself mentally right, and when you get your chance off the bench, see what you can do with it. I think that's what he's going to have to do. I think that's what he's going to have to do.
You talked about Chelsea protecting players that were maybe out of position. Does Slot need to protect players that are perhaps out of form a little bit more? Does he need to restructure this so that we're not leaving players like Konate exposed, or we're not depending on someone like a McAllister who we know is not 100% fit? Are we making it harder on ourselves by kind of insisting that we keep going with this? I don't even know what the style is right now, to be honest.
I was surprised Jones didn't play.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, if you look at it, how he played this time last year against Chelsea, you want someone to look after the ball. Just play Curtis Jones. He'll look after the ball. He'll get stick for it, and people will hate him for it, but he'll do the simple things well. And if he loses the ball the odd time, it's rare. He doesn't lose the ball that often.
He also has the ability to get back, which we saw a couple of times. Which I think that's what McAllister is also lacking at the moment. It feels like when you get past him, he's done at the moment.
I mean, Caicedo's a good player. It's not, you know, it's called a spade a spade. He's a good player, and he skipped past him, and McAllister was just kept trying to grab him to pull him down, and he was just gone. You know, he wouldn't have got caught in that position in the first place. The thing is, he should have been aware of the space he was vacating in committing to try to intercept the ball, and he ballsed it up. But saying that, it still needed some hit to finish it. So,
let's do our usual things. It shouldn't take long. Ash, you get the easy one. Man of the match, honourable mention, and could do better. He could have picked one of each.
Okay. Gosh, it's like I'm going to give it to Marmadashvili because I think that out of everyone, it was his Premier League debut. I thought he commanded his box pretty well. I think
he loves a diving catch. He loves a diving catch.
But in terms of, commanding the box and, he was good on the punches with the corners. There were a couple times where he was smart off his line. I thought he made a couple good saves. There are a couple people that are like, oh, could he get there for the second one? I don't think so. I think that really was all on Robertson. Honorable mention, Jones for me. I think that he is the most stable midfielder at the moment. I know that Szoboszlai, if he plays in midfield, I would say he actually looks quite stable, but he's not playing in midfield. So for me, it was Jones kind of coming on and trying to steady whatever he could, but it didn't make a big difference there. Could do better is Salah, hands down. I made a comment to you guys in our WhatsApp saying if we were wondering what this team looks like without Salah, we're watching it right now. Because although he had a few passes, there was one pass that was really quite nice where Ekitike should do better. Otherwise, he might as well not have been on the pitch. And you could see in the first goal, Szoboszlai was livid with Salah. And I didn't get the chance to kind of go back and see where that play progressed from. But Salah was basically just at a walking pace the entire game. And I know that he's usually the furthest forward, but if he's going to be the furthest forward and if we are going to carry him as a passenger, he has to at least pass the ball to a player or get the shots on target. Because right now it has looked for about a month that he's wearing the wrong boots on each foot. I don't know what's going on with him. There's people that are like, oh, well, he was playing for a contract last year and now you're seeing the true Salah. I don't know. I don't know if psychologically there is a bigger impact to what happened over the summer for Salah. Yeah. I don't know. All of those things are possible. But for me, I can't excuse the performance of today. Lack of performance, really.
Kev?
Yeah, I agree with Ashley and Mamardashvili. It's the easiest wonder why he was our best player on the pitch. Brilliant debut. Could do nothing really with the goals, don't think. And it's going to take him time to get used to him because he's left-footed. And Kelleher was right-footed. Alisson's right-footed.
Yeah.
Players giving the ball back to him have to give it back to him on his proper foot. And the amount of times he was taking the ball onto his right foot and getting it away and not getting himself into trouble by doing it, he did really well. His distribution with his hands, his throws, we're going to get goals out of that. His accuracy, when he gets more confident and he starts coming for corners, claiming them and looking for players to break with, I thought that he was really good. Honourable mention.
He's probably one of the few where you think you don't feel worried about him coming in. You're quite relaxed.
No, I never did.
He just looks like a proper keeper. You kind of go, yeah, you can see what the future looks like.
Yeah.
And you go, that looks all right to me.
He's 6'6", and even when he was at Valencia last year, Valencia were shockingly bad, and he was making save after save after save. And in games they were conceding goals, but more often than not, it wasn't down to him. It's down to what's in front of him. And I don't think he could do much about today. Honourable mention, I think Szoboszlai. So he did well in patch. He was unlucky. I suppose the ball came at him in the first half when the ball was cut back to him. He got it on target. I don't think Bar put his foot on it and tried to lash it. He couldn't really do much more than that. But I thought he was effective in what he was able to do. but it's really, really slim pickings. You know what I mean? You're struggling. Could do better. McAllister. I mean, if you're starting and you're being picked to start, and you have to be more accurate with your passing. Jones came on; his passing accuracy was 100%. And he was playing more advanced. You have to be much more accurate. You have to take care of the ball much better, and you have to scream at your mate if he's being pulled out of position, not to get dragged out of the place. He's an experienced player now. He's an experienced 6 as well. I mean, the thing is, we bought him as a 10/8, and he's been playing in the 6 role for us for a while now. He's not inexperienced. He knows the role. He knows what to expect going to Chelsea, and it just looked like the game overran him. He just couldn't get into it at all. I don't know. One name I will throw out there. I thought when Wirtz came on, I thought he looked to get on the ball and he looked to try to make things happen. Didn't always work for him, but he tried things, and it wasn't his worst. It wasn't the worst that I've seen from him at all.
Well, I think man of the match is. I agree with both of you, Mamardashvili, because I thought it was an excellent debut. I do nothing about the goals. Just looked like a proper Liverpool goalkeeper. Claimed everything. Loves the dive and catch. Looks a bit like the old school FIFA keeper. But yeah. But I had no problem with that. He did everything that you'd want your goalie to do. Nothing eccentric or stupid. He did everything really well. So I was fine with him. Honorable mention. Probably Jones, because I thought at least he got the tempo of the ball. Like you said, his accuracy of his passing was really good. It wasn't all sideways passing. The only thing he should have done better was his chance he was put through in goal. You'd like him to have hit the target, but in general, actually, I thought Jones did well. I think he was unlucky not to start. I think he should be at the moment starting ahead of McAllister. I just don't think McAllister's in the form. Could do better. For me, to toss up between either of the fullbacks. I thought Bradley was pretty average and got hooked at half time. And Kirkers, I do worry when my fullback's getting bodied by the beast that is Pedro Neto, who's about 6 stone wet through. He was knocking Kirkers around for fun, knocking him over. And I don't think I want to see that from me fullback. Fullback, you expect to be a bit more stronger. He was just in general wasteful. So, all in all, a pretty bang average 2 weeks this has been, hasn't it? We can't really.
I think could do better also is Slot. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that, because
he needs to start finding solutions, doesn't he?
He does, and this is the first time that we've lost 3 games under him, 3 meaningful competitive games, and we've talked a little bit about how great he is tactically. There are some things that I'm not super happy with tactically now. I don't see what he's trying to accomplish. There are some quotes that we should probably go through where he talks a little bit, because I'm not super jazzed with the quotes that it's coming out either. Historically, he's been pretty good about kind of calling it as it is, and now it feels like he's sugarcoating things, and I don't know if that's because he knows his team is mentally fragile. But
yeah, I do wonder if it's probably like most managers, what you see publicly isn't always what you see behind the scenes. I think I always remember, I think it was Rio Ferdinand, talked about a game where Ferguson was really praising of Man United, really happy. He was like, oh, great. The guy that actually said he watched it thought, oh, that's all right, because we won 2-1, get in. And he said, honest to God, he ripped us apart for an hour. He said, fuck me. And he goes, he said, a few weeks later, we got beat. We were expected to tell Sheffield, and he was quite calm. Like, look, you've done it for one. It's not our time. So you never quite know what's happening behind the scenes. But you do worry, because you don't want to be Gerard Houllier days. Do you remember that, Kev, when everything was all right? And you're going like, Gerard, we've lost 5 in a row. It can't all be all right.
Yeah, it can't all be all right.
Okay. Right, Ashley.
I think one thing I wanted to say about Mo Salah, and the worrying thing for me is his pace has dropped. His ability to get away from players, his ability to go past a fullback on the inside, his trick, whatever he was trying, it's been there for a while. It's just not clicking for him this season so far. he's world class. It will come right for him. So Slot will play him until it clicks.
Slot also mentioned, Kev, didn't he, that didn't they have a conversation at the start of last season? They said he's going to play him in a slightly different way, so because he realised I could get more space, which worked. But then he did say at the end of the season, but teams have worked that. Teams have worked that out now. So he said, so we need to think of a new tactic. So maybe that's a Slot thing, which is what's your new
exactly?
What's your new tactic? New trick.
We have Frimpong.
Bearing in mind,
that could be the new tactic if you want to use Frimpong wide and allow Mo Salah to drift a little bit inwards. Yeah, like I mean, we see it as players get older. You know, those number 9s aren't asked to do quite as much. And you know, I'm not saying play him as an out and out 9, but if you have him and another player up front, allow. I mean, right now, it's.
Play them closer
together and use the width. Like that's one thing that we haven't been doing this season at all is using the width, and that was such a hallmark last year. You know, whether it was Luis Diaz getting chalk on his boots on one side or Mo Salah on the other, we've lost that completely. And if Mo Salah is slower, then someone needs to do that for him, and you need to play Mo Salah to his strengths.
It has to be the reason why they went with Frimpong over some of the other fullbacks that were available in the summer. I mean, he's got pace to burn and he's got a great engine. So it has to be that. They have to have a plan in place for when he does slow down, because he's going to. You know, I mean, Father Time is undefeated. He will slow down eventually. And you have to have an outlet to be able to get around there. And you saw the benefits of it today when Szoboszlai made that overlapping run, got to the byline, put a cross in, and we got a goal from it. The other side, Kirk has got there a couple of times, put a dangerous cross in for Szoboszlai, and another day he scores. And the one for Kirk, the next one for Mo. So it just shows overlapping your wingers and getting in and around the back is a viable option for us. We just have to do it more. We have to be more consistent in how we get there.
Pretty much. Go on, Ash.
Ash, do you want to go through the quotes?
Okay. You guys throw them out and
all yours.
Read them through.
Yep. Up you go.
There's a couple from Virgil, too.
I'll start at the start. And are you going to do it, Chris? Sorry.
Okay. All right. So Virgil was interviewed first. The quotes from him came out first, so they'll come out first here. He said, I already told you many times that this season is going to be very difficult, not just because of what's happening on the pitch, but also what happened outside of it. We were the ones who used to be winning games in the last seconds. Now we are on the other side. It's so typical. This hurts. He continues. No, there's just a couple fun, not so fun facts. Liverpool have lost 3 consecutive matches for the first time since early 2023. I think it was April. For the first time this season, we had less possession than our opposition in a Premier League match. We were at 47% overall. And now we get to the Arne Slot quotes. On changes in defense, he said, most of the time I've changed the fullbacks, it's been because they were on yellows. You wonder if it's smart to keep them on the pitch. You could feel and see this, that it got more and more difficult for him to keep going. Their wingers are a threat. We needed Florian to come into the game. Kirkez was more and more tired. He played 90 minutes in 2 games and now in the 3rd game, which he is not used to. On Konate, he said he felt his quad a bit, then alarm bells go off with me. If the game had gone on like this, I would have made the change a bit later, but did not want to take the risk. It wasn't a coincidence when Ryan Gravenberch started to play there that we started getting more and more in the game. These are the margins that don't fall for us at the moment. We have to work harder to not rely on these margins. As I said, Chelsea, Palace away. These are also teams that ask you a lot of questions. On failing to find the winner, he said, we were the dominant team, but in the last 10 to 15 minutes, it was end to end. Both teams could have scored. Both teams arrived a lot of times at the 18-yard line. On his side's recent results, he said, first of all, the opposition we face. Last season, we lost against Chelsea as well. Stamford Bridge is always difficult. We were very close to a result. As I said at Galatasaray, we had a 1-versus-1, and then they got the penalty. We conceded extra time against Palace, and then today they score a goal that could go at either end. I think 2 very good teams were on the pitch today. First half, unfortunately for us, the only chance they had in the first half goes in to the top corner. We created 3 open chances, Kirkus, Dom, and Alex with the header, but I felt the game was equal. Second half, we started off really well. It wasn't a surprise that we equalized. The last 15 minutes, it was end-to-end. We had chances. They had chances to win. In the end, we conceded a last-minute goal. We were very close to a result. It is small margins. And that's about it.
All pretty standard stuff.
All pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
There's been a bit of a storyline coming out. I think we saw it from a couple of different reporters about how the press conference was cut a bit short. We don't know why. But they didn't really let Slot answer as many questions this time around. And it seems like, it was a little bit more of the stock answers that were given.
Yeah.
And it feels, again, like I said before I started reading these quotes, it feels a little bit more like stock answers again. Whereas in the past, Slot has been very quick to kind of call out, this is what went wrong. This feels very much the opposite. And maybe he's protecting the team. And that is his job. That's his prerogative as a coach. But I can't read these quotes and feel inspired. I want to see, or I want to hear that Slot understands, that things have gone wrong. And of course he does. That's why he gets paid all the big the big money, and that's why he's in the position he's in. But, at some point he is speaking to the fans through these press conferences, and instead of hearing, it's small margins, we played really well, I want to hear, there are problems that we need to fix. And he doesn't have to go into detail. I just want him to acknowledge it. I don't know if that's just me.
No, you're right. But he's never going to come out and publicly say it. But I'd imagine the conversation he's having in front of the cameras and the conversations he's having in the dressing room after on the coach on the way home are going to be completely different. They'd have to be. I mean, the handy thing is now a lot of players are just going to literally straight on the plane, straight off to wherever they're flying to for their international break, and they won't see each other for a week and a half. It'll be Thursday week by the time they're all back together again. So you just hope that the coaching staff over that time knock their heads together and try to work out a way to utilize the squad in the best way possible. Because what we're seeing at the minute, it just doesn't look like to be bedded. And you see it at Old Trafford at Manchester United with Amorim with his system, and we know it's not working, and he refuses to change it. You don't want to be that stubborn manager. Stubbornness has sacked more managers than anyone else. So he can't be wedded to a system. He can't be wedded to an ideology. And he's got to find a way to make this work. There's a lot of rotation in the summer, a hell of a lot of upheaval on and off the pitch. But the table won't wait for him to fix it. He's got to find a way of fixing it and moving with the sides that are around us.
I don't want us to go backwards, but we had something that worked last year, and it just feels like he's decided, I don't want to do any of those things. And granted, we don't have Trent. We don't have Diaz. There are certain key components that we don't have, but there were certain elements there that really made us solid. And it's, why have we ripped up the entire script? We can rip up pages, but did we really need to rip it all up? We talk about what they can do over the break. I'm not sure what they're trying to accomplish. I don't know if you guys have, if anyone can kind of enlighten me about what the ultimate goal here is, because I don't really see the direction of travel at the moment.
I suppose the question is, when you look at where all the changes we made, how many were necessary? Both fullbacks needed to change because one left and Robson was getting older. We all agreed they were the circumstances. Wirtz was attacking creative quality that probably you don't get a chance to sign very often, and the fact you're losing the creativity of a Trent, you've got to bring creativity somewhere. So I sort of get why you brought Wirtz in. We said all summer, but we needed some extra quality in number 9. We've kind of done that. Probably where we've left ourselves a little bit light is, yes, Diaz wanted to leave, but you probably would have liked someone to come in to replace his minutes a little bit. I think that's probably fair. And we would have liked another centre-back, which obviously we got 1. We would have liked 2, which we nearly got right. We left it too late. So on paper, most of the changes looked logical because of who wanted to leave and who we lost, and they sort of made sense. I wonder if these comments, the reason I know we said they're not very inspiring, they're a bit stock answer, but I think it's because we've lost 3 in a row and we're about to go into international break. If he comes out and says, yes, there are problems, we're going to fix it, that's the whole media story for the next 2 weeks.
It'll be the media story for the next 2 weeks.
But I think it
already is.
But it fuels it more as in like, well, what are the problems? Is it on the pitch? Is it off the pitch? Do these players not get on? Do that player not get on? Is it people? We know how that game goes because Liverpool are the latest crisis club, which they will be for the next 3 weeks because that's the way the game works. So I wonder if he's just trying to diffuse that a little bit of making it quite vanilla, the responses. You know, I would say if we had a game next week, and I wonder if the answers would have been a bit more abrupt.
I mean, I guess the only counter that I would say to that is the absence of answers just breeds speculation. And, you know, if you don't address the fact that, you know, yes, even if he just kept it really stock and he was like, you know, our back four is not stable and we've changed it too much. And that's it. You know, you don't have to pin it on anyone, but at least that gives something to, you know, hang on to. And now it could be anything. Now it could be, you know, behind the scenes trouble. It could be on the pitch trouble. It could be mental problems. It could be, you know, I don't know.
Well, you're going to get this when it comes back to when players go on international break. Anyone who's put in front of a camera is going to be asked about it. You know, whether it's for the national team, whether it's at press conferences or interviews with their local national media. So, I mean, they're professional enough to give the stock answers. They're not. I'd be amazed if anyone come out and talked about disruption or personality issues, and I don't think there are any. Just think at the minute, and he's right. Look, he's right in what he said. 2 late winners and a penalty. You know, in all 3 games, we were in with a chance of taking something out of all of them. So I don't think it's baby out with bathwater. But it's definitely.
I mean, we're 1 point off. We're 1 point off first place right now.
There's neon signs flashing saying, "You got a problem here, son.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you need to address this." And we've got to find a way of getting back to basics of keeping clean sheets.
What's a clean sheet?
Start off by.
I don't even know what that is anymore.
Yes, start off by keeping clean sheets. You can't keep conceding 2 goals.
Well, I think so far, I think it's in all competitions we've conceded 2 goals in 5 of our 10 games that we've played this year. You can't,
and we haven't gone on to win any game that we've gone behind in.
Yeah, you can't keep doing that.
So yeah, the only I'd say semi-positive thing from Slot, which is what we all agree, which is he's talking about the fine margins, but he says we need to find a way of not needing fine margins. I think that's the way to look at it, which is. You know, yes, we can win games by fine margin. We've lost games by fine margin. Let's get a few more games, just one where a fine margin late goal doesn't matter. It's more of an annoying.
It shouldn't matter.
Yeah,
like nobody should be depending on fine margins. I mean, that to me is that's like flipping a coin and hoping it's landing on your side, and that's it swings both ways. And that is kind of the story of our season is that it's been fine margins this whole time, and that we're just seeing the opposite side of the coin at this point in time. It's every single one of those last minute winners could have quite easily gone the opposite way. And we have to remember that. And I'm not trying to be glass half empty, but like that is kind of the fragility of this side.
Oh, it is there.
Yeah. But you flip it the other way. Arsenal are above us at the moment. Yes, they were comfortably today, but the 2 previous games, last minute winner, last minute equaliser. So there's another world where Arsenal have got 4 points less than what they've got now. Them's the breaks. That's what happens in football. That's football. You just need to make sure that there aren't too many.
Yeah. It's still really early doors.
I think Neil Axel said it best. Trying to get into too many classics, and you know what I mean. Like TV classic. Liverpool 1-4-2 or Liverpool 1-4-3. If you're in too many, then eventually they either catch out with you or they take your legs out of you because you're always chasing the game. Yeah.
You can't keep doing
you want to have classics, but you don't want to have too many of them because otherwise, eventually, the legs will catch up with you. So, but like you said, it is still early in the season. There's a long way to go. Yeah, it's only 7 league games, and we're a point off where we want to be. So,
just looking forward because I know that we have an international break, but
our run's horrible. Don't talk about that.
Our run. Well, no, I mean, I don't need to go into it in detail, but like. we haven't.
Well, what is it?
Okay, so it's Man United, Frankfurt, Brentford, Palace, Villa, Real Madrid, Man City.
That's all right. I don't mind that.
But we did say when we looked at the opening league fixtures, our opening 11 was the toughest run we were going to have the whole season in terms of the league fixtures. So I still maintain if you're within a few points of top after City, you're more than in the driving seat then, I would say. Because Arsenal's run is kind, but like I said, after we play City, Arsenal's run after we play City is pretty rough. I think they have Chelsea and then they have Spurs, a couple of London derby. So just roll with the punches a little bit, isn't
it? Yeah.
Exactly. It's a 38-game season, and nothing is decided in the first week of October.
I mean, it doesn't feel like it, but on the same fixtures last season, we're actually a point ahead of what we got from those same fixtures.
And we're not out of touch of anything.
No, it doesn't feel. I know. I know. Over the last 2-3 years, it doesn't feel like it, but that's the reality of where we are. It's just frustrating a little bit, but
yeah, I'll be honest. I don't mind that run actually. What'd you say?
So.
Man United,
which I don't mind as a game to come back to because I do think,
and it's on a Sunday as well. It's not the 12:30 kickoff.
Yeah, it's home, and then we go Frankfurt, Brentford, Palace in the Cup, Villa, Madrid, City.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Put it this way, it makes you focus your mind because that's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last year that the making of this team was that double Madrid City match week. This falls right around the same time. It's the beginning of November. If they can set things right over the international break, and I guess let's finish this show trying to look at this glass half empty or glass half full rather than glass.
That's it. Glass half empty. That's where we are.
I know, Freudian slip there. Let's try to finish the show looking at the positives.
We don't have to watch it for 2 weeks.
We don't have to watch him for 2 weeks. There's 2 weeks for Slot and his team to really sit down and analyze tapes.
Need box set recommendations.
I know. If anyone has any good TV recommendations,
The Gathering. It's been out ages. It was on Channel 4. The Gathering. It's a Liverpool drama. That's really good. I've got one to go with it.
I want to watch the Guinness one. The Guinness House.
Oh, Kev, because you like conspiracy stuff. The Hack's a good one. It's all about the phone hacking scandal.
Oh no, I've seen it.
I've got one episode to go. So I've seen it as well. It's really good.
Yeah, actually, I've seen it. No, the Guinness Storehouse or the Guinness. Yeah, I think it's the Guinness Storehouse.
If Ashley wants to see them, she probably needs to get a VPN to watch them. So don't forget our partner. No,
it's a good idea.
What VPN would you suggest?
I would suggest NordVPN because they sponsor us and they're boss. They've got loads of cybersecurity as well, and helps you watch things that are geo blocked. So there you go, Ash. That's your box set source for the weekend. We'll do some things that you can ungeo block. That's almost like a perfect segue, that, isn't it? Can you tell I didn't forget? I didn't forget the sponsor at all.
It's okay.
Promise.
No, we're fine. We're fine.
Also, in the bottom corner there, you see the QR code. Become a Patreon, where you get to see more shows from us three and others. We've got a really good show that Ash does called Good Process, where we can use lots of video clips and look at what's going on.
I basically just yell at referees for a whole hour. So if that's your vibe.
We also have Reaction Extra, which is Gav and one of us looking through highlights of games that just happened and slightly cooler head, seeing what we think.
I feel like we should do some retro stuff instead this time. Like let's go back to the good old days.
Let's watch Dortmund.
Anything other than having to rewatch that match.
Kev, should we do Dortmund and do Barcelona because they both cheer us up?
Yeah.
Ash, that's a great idea for a Patreon show. Let's do retro watches.
Yeah, and we can wear our retro gear that we got. It'll be great. We'll have a whole theme. I'll run with this.
Oh, I like this. There you go. So that's why you should wear Patreon. It's literally the cost of a pint. Give it a try for a month. If you don't like it,
we just
no
do
hard
crazy
feelings.
Stuff.
And you get to join our Telegram group, which is all a bit mad.
Equally crazy.
It is. And that's just Brian.
Especially in the international break, it usually picks up. It's usually
all of us are in it, so if you ever want to talk to us, and we'll get back to you with your questions.
Oh, Madge Apples, but Dalglish documentary. Ooh.
I've heard that's very, very
That's
good.
coming on November. I think it's November 4th.
Oh, it's not. Oh,
on Amazon. November 4th on Amazon. I think. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, looking forward to that because that's going to be really, really.
Northern Rise says quad's still on. It is technically still on, so
apparently the same crowd who made the Senna documentary and the Maradona documentary made this Kenny Dalglish documentary.
Oh, that'll be good.
So I expect it to be really, really good. Really good.
Surely good. Anyway, sorry, Ash, you're on a tangent. Then we interrupt you for some VPN.
No.
For some VPN.
I don't even know what I was talking about.
I think we're trying to
the stream. I think that we were trying.
Can we go now, please?
Glass half full. We did a pretty good job. This was our best effort.
Thor said Ashley
in the chat.
Yeah, Thor said Ashley's never forgiven you for your Liverpool 1, Fulham 2 prediction.
Yeah, well, it happens. You try talking live on a stream and just, see what comes out of your mouth. Because every once in a while, your brain wants to say one thing and your mouth says another. It just happens.
Me and Kev have bullshitted this for a good 4 years now, haven't we, mate?
It just happens.
Yeah, we made a go of it. Real talk, definitely. If you haven't watched it already, Kenny Dalglish on the overlap this week. Very, very good.
Cool. Right. So on that bombshell, it's finished. Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1. The losing streak continues. Hopefully not for much longer. So listen, keep an eye on us. Hit the bell icon. We'll have loads of shows of international break, doing quizzes and all sorts of mad stuff. And we may do Ashley's retro watch. I think that sounds great. So until then, take care. Kev, take us home.